I haven't been using these beds for at least, definitely not the last 2 years. So maybe this is the third year where I'm gonna actually use them again. They're covered with wood chips because I had a bindweed problem, and the Master Gardener solution to bindweed is put a foot of wood chips on it, smother it out. If someone tells you that, it means they've never had bindweed. It takes a little bit more than a foot of wood chips if you're not going to use plastic. I am going to use a plastic in other parts of the garden. That's another video, because this was like a very annoying way to battle the bindweed, and I'm not even sure that it's even dead. So last year was kind of like, you know what, I'm going to keep it smothered another year. It's such a nightmare working with bindweed. So many times I spent digging. I could dig 2 feet of roots out, and then it comes right back up. And then to terrace your property, not realizing what bindweed is and what a nuisance it is and how it propagates, little bits of bindweed during the terracing of the whole thing got into other parts. And because I'm just one person, having to control it in the 50 million areas at once is like, that would be like your whole life. You could do it if you didn't have a full-time job. It got a little bit worse on the edges, and so this year I'm fighting the edges because it's pretty much around the house. It's under control now. I'm going to show you what it looks like in some area that I'm going to put plastic on. There's areas where it's growing in between my natives, and so I have to have different strategies depending on where it's at, where it's growing around. There's bare spots in the property because I have to deal with the bindweed before I plant into it. And though in some cases I've done it anyway, and so now I've got to put plastic around some of my plantings. This is the border of the bindweed, so this slope is very, very bindweedy, but it's been very much controlled. It would be a lot crazier by now if I didn't really attack it a lot last year. And basically it's border on this end, like it stops kind of right here. It got into this flat area and then it stops. So I'm taking the wood chips from here and I'm smothering it really heavily, the bindweed on its border right here. And so I don't think I need to put plastic on here because this is already a weakened area, kind of like down there. I think I can keep them controlled with either wood chips or a combination of wood chip and burlap. And I also piled a lot of the wood chips along here. So that's where my garden debris, I've Hugo-mounded it into this pile because I can't plant into this. I have to control the bindweed before I can grow into it. Bindweed comes right up against these stairs. That's why these stairs have been hidden for several years until now, where I've just been scooping the wood chips off of them. And so this is really piled up high really here, but I might have to put plastic around the edges there. And because I've planned on putting plastic here, and plastic is supposed to kill the soil microbes beneath it, one of my ways to combat that is to put the plastic over a Hugo mound so that air is going to get in there. So if a master gardener tells you that your fabric is going to smother your soil, sure, I would say a traditional application of that where you put plastic on bare soil and then maybe you might even cover that with beauty bark or something like that. Yeah, you're killing the soil, but I just need to use the fabric to keep the light off of the bindweed, and there will be this debris underneath the plastic and doing its thing, decomposing. There'll be air underneath there. This is where I was bad and I planted something here anyway, and this is gonna create a complication. So when I do put plastic on this side, I have to put plastic around that. See, there's some stinging nettle here. The stinging nettle might have to be a casualty. I like it there. This is the red elderberry. You can see that it's the red one because it's already trying to flower, and it's that pyramid-shaped flower. Here is the a-hole. bindweed. There's another bindweed there, I see. There's one here. And I can't just dig them out here because I'm on a slope. And I need my rocks in my slope to keep my land up. This time of day, this will dehydrate on the surface, but in the rain, you gotta watch out because this will re-root just like that in place. If you let it, you have to watch out for the wind. The wind can blow it. You see here, see this is a very much weakened one. So as I could tell, I've been hitting those. They've been growing all along here. This was also a wall you weren't able to see the last few years because I had brought the wood chips up here over the wall. This is pure evaporation that happened. How much wood chips evaporated because this wall wasn't even visible. I have bindweed pressures, so I see bindweed right there, all in these native plants. So this is where my strategy has to change a bit, and I gotta use the burlap. I think the strategy is using the burlap, wrapping the burlap around the plants so that the bindweed can't climb up them. It's really mostly remaining in these, where it's growing in between these plants. That's where my attention's gonna go when I no longer have to focus on the areas around my house.